România a fost mereu de partea Cehiei de câte ori a avut probleme cu sovieticii. Două țări care au trăit istorii complicate cu Rusia sunt acum împreună alături de ucraineni care se apără de același agresor. Doar că ies din nou la suprafață vocile care spun că este mai bine să fim de partea rușilor. Istoria începe să fie uitată și în Cehia sau reinterpretată într-o manieră care nu are nimic de a face cu realitatea. Bătăliile ideologice pentru lumea liberă se duc în toată politica europeană, iar adevărul iese tot mai greu la suprafață printre mistificările de tot felul. Jan Lipavski este ministrul de externe al Cehiei. Discutăm împreună despre toate aceste probleme, dar și despre legătura foarte veche dintre țările noastre, reprezentată cel mai bine de comunitatea de cehi din România. Sunt Cristina Cileacu, începe Pașaport diplomatic. Jan Lipavski, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Czech Republic, welcome to Diplomatic Passport.
Thank you very much for having me.
Controalele la frontierele statelor care sunt în Schengen au devenit noua realitate pe care cetățenii din Germania, Cehia și Polonia trebuie să o accepte. Creșterea traficului ilegal de persoane, mai precis de migranți din Siria, Irak și alte țări din Orientul Mijlociu, a determinat reimpunerea verificărilor la granițele terestre între țări membre ale zonei Schengen. Doar că resursele unei poliții de frontieră, care nu a mai fost nevoită de ani de zile să facă vamă, permit acum doar controale mobile, făcute prin sondaj, iar asta nu va ajuta prea mult la stoparea migrației necontrolate.
Minister, Schengen is still an issue that divides Europe, and while Romania and Bulgaria are not yet permitted to this area, a new issue appeared at your border with Germany and also the German border with Poland to reinstall this type of border controls inside the Schengen area this time. Why this problem of migration, which never disappeared, we have to be honest, reappears now in the discussions, and why it still created so many problems at the level of European Union?
So I have come to visit Romania with one clear message, and this message is that Romania belongs to Schengen. Czechia is a long-term supporter of membership of Romania in Schengen area, and during our presidency to the EU Council we really tried and we really did our best to help Romania to join Schengen area, even though it was not enough. I think it's very well known that it is the Austrian veto which blocks Romania from being in Schengen, and we need to continue, we need to use all the effort, all the diplomatic skills to try to work with Austria. But it won't be easy, and this is the European reality, dependencies of different countries on decision. So I wish Romania best to be able to join Schengen as soon as possible. And one of the main arguments which Czechia uses to persuade countries like Netherlands, which also for a long time objected that, and but through through working process was able to remove their veto from that fact, from the Romania joining Schengen, is that it will help to curb down migration issues, because with the Romanian membership in Schengen also means a lot of programs fighting illegal and irregular migration. And the issue is here, the security situation in the whole world is worsening. Definitely Russian aggression against Ukraine is not helping with that issue, because Russia destroyed the security of the Black Sea. Ukraine is not able to export its agriculture products. Thank you, Romania, for helping with solidarity lines. And Africa, you know, is under security pressure. Look, Wagner's operating in many African countries. We are witnessing too many coups in different African countries, rise of extremism and terrorism, and this allows migration to happen. This creates a pressure, this creates a new refugees, and the Europe is getting again under the pressure.
sunt agenții ai puterilor străine, oameni care îndeplinesc ordine, marionete oarecare. Citatul, care este familiar și pentru publicul din România, îi aparține liderului partidului prorus din Cehia. Același politician vine și cu propunerea ca țara sa să se opună aderării Ucrainei la NATO. Aproximativ 10.000 de oameni au ieșit pe străzi la Praga să susțină acest tip de idei. Ca în alte state unde sunt politicieni care cred că apropierea de Rusia este varianta mai bună de urmat, discursul este același, iar realitatea faptului că rușii au început un război în Europa este trecută sub tăcere.
Another issue that seems to divide us at the level of European Union is the fact that not all of us is eager to support Ukraine anymore, and I'm talking now about the pro-Russian parties, extremist parties, and your country is not a stranger to this phenomenon, I'm afraid. Your country was under occupation from the Soviet troops also. You had a strong anti-communist resistance. How come the Czech forgot the recent history?
I wouldn't say that the Czech would forget the recent history. For example, Czechs remember very well that Romania has not joined the invasion of 1968. It's very well remembered and appreciated that Romania got the strength to refuse the Soviet orders. Czech society supports Ukrainians and supports Ukrainians. We are a 10 million country. We have accepted 500,000 war refugees. It's 5% of population. Some of them were able to go back to Ukraine. Some of them are staying. They can go to kids can go to schools. Mostly women. They can join the work market, labor market. So we are coping with that. Of course, you always will have voices in society which will propose weakness to enemy, and we have also these extremist parties proposing to be weak and to not defend our freedoms and values. But happily I have to say that the majority of our society still supports Ukraine, supports the principles on which we support Ukraine, which means a Charter of UN, the principle that the borders are not changed by force. We also have not remembered what the Munich Agreement in 1938 meant for Czechoslovakia when it was dictated from the European powers that we need to secede certain parts of our territory to Nazi Germany at the time. So we study our history very carefully. We don't live in our history, we have put it to historians, but there are some important lessons which needs not to be forgotten.
You are right, but then again, in your country there are a lot of pro-Russian voices rising again, and people that most of them perhaps are disappointed by the mainstream politics joining those voices. We have the same phenomenon here in Romania, and it's all over European Union. Why do you think that these non-values, because these people say that all of us are conducted by Western powers, by foreign powers, and they give us the example to follow, Russia, where, by the way, even protests are banned. How come these non-values still manage to rise in a free Europe?
We are open, free and democratic societies, so freedom of speech is one of the core values. And of course you will have in a society a marginalized group, you will have groups which live through some kind of frustrations, and they are looking for different ways of policies being done. So yes, from time to time we have a big demonstration in Prague, but definitely this is not something which would have a potential to become a mainstream policy as such, since the majority of society supports the democratic orientation of our country and the protection of democratic values. We want to be firmly part of the West, we definitely have a good reason to keep Russia out of our backyard. I think this is where with Romania we really share this interest, and I would like to also thank you to Romania for all the help which is done in regard of helping Ukraine to sustain the invasion of Russian forces, speaking about humanitarian or military help.
Cât de multe locuri în Parlamentul European vor ocupa partidele extremiste din toată Uniunea Europeană, această preocupare devine tot mai importantă pentru că sondajele politice de la nivelul blocului comunitar arată o creștere generalizată a popularității acestora. Mai poate fi liberă o Europa unde ideile radicale ar reuși să se impună?
If we look at the polls all over Europe, these extremist parties are gaining quite a lot of voters, and since we are going to have European elections in June next year, we can only assume that some of them or more of them will be in the European Parliament. What something like this present could mean for all of us at the level of European Union?
Let's see. I don't know. Maybe your assumption is right. Maybe not. I think European Parliament plays important role in defining policy, and of course, European Commission and Council need to get approval on many legislative acts which are being introduced. So it will be a very important litmus test how the governments are able to explain their policies. But on the other side, very often we fear of elections and the results of elections. At the end of the day, then we see and realize that it's not so bad. So let's see how that will change Europe. It will be a very important moment, and it's also it will be indication of how the situation in different countries in Europe has changed since elections will happen basically at the same time in all countries.
Teoria cercurilor concentrice revine prin planul dezbaterilor politice europene. Propunerea pentru o nouă Europă înseamnă 4 cercuri concentrice. Primul, cel mai puternic, este pentru statele care vor să devină o națiune unică, cu o singură monedă, armată, justiție, etc. Cercul numărul 2 este al celor care vor ca Uniunea Europeană să rămână așa cum este acum. Cercul al treilea este pentru țările care vor relații economice puternice cu Uniunea Europeană, de exemplu Marea Britanie. Ultimul cerc este pentru cei care vor să adere la Uniunea Europeană, dar încă mai au probleme de rezolvat. Într-o Europă cu tot mai multe diviziuni bazate în esență pe diferențe culturale, o astfel de idee poate provoca și mai multă polarizare la nivelul statelor.
Another issue that is not yet clear when it comes to one single conclusion at the level of European Union is to enlarge or not to enlarge our communitary bloc. And there is an old theory that resurfaced now regarding enlargement, but with a different type of concentric circles. Won't this, considering the fact that European Union is already, let's say, blamed for a lot of things that in the view of the extremists, isn't it an issue like this going to divide even more?
This is a very interesting proposal. This is a very interesting paper, which is on the table right now to be discussed politically.
It's under discussion,
in the EU. But all the attempts to create multiple speed Europe or concentric circles always failed, and they failed for one very reason, that everyone wants to be in the most concentric circle. So any attempt to create 2-3 categories failed because everyone is trying to be in a circle, because the inner circle always influence the other circles. So of course you have countries which are not in the Eurozone, some of them don't want to be there. You have countries which are not in a Schengen but want to be in a Schengen, like Romania. And you can, Europe is created by multiple layers of different agreements. But at the end of the day, everyone wants to be most integrated, also in a way which suits to that country, so you have influence, you can be part of those debates. The enlargement is a very important vision which Europe provides not only to Western Balkan but also to countries on Eastern flank of Europe, and to live in Ukraine and Moldova with the vision that one day your country will join the EU is definitely much more promising than if anyone would tell you no, definitely it won't never ever happen. So we need to provide this vision, but also those countries need to fulfill quite a lot of criteria and be able to change internally. So this will be debate which will be there for many decades.
With or without Western Balkans inside the European Union?
Definitely, Western Balkans one day needs to enter the EU. It's not only about the fact that we delivered some promise. It's also about the vision for those countries that they cannot forever be encompassed by the EU countries, but there is a lot of issues in the Western Balkans. It's not easy, but we need to be working on them. We need to be trying to find the right solution, and those countries also need to change internally, because at the end of the day, the EU is a rule of law union. They need to change their laws in a way that they will be compatible with ours.
O politică bazată pe valori sau pe angajamente pragmatice, Cehia este nu doar un vechi susținător al Taiwanului ca democrație care se străduie să reziste presiunilor Chinei, dar poate fi considerată un lider în cadrul Uniunii Europene în această privință. Ideile lui Václav Havel, simbolul Revoluției de catifea din 1989, prin care s-a eliberat țara de comunism, stau încă la baza relației dintre Cehia și Taiwan, lucru care a atras deseori critici din partea Chinei. O mare deosebire față de statele din vestul Europei, mult mai pragmatice în aceste abordări. De altfel, legătura puternică dintre cehi și taiwanezi se traduce și în economie. Cehia are rezerve mari de litium, un element esențial în producerea chipurilor, domeniu unde Taiwan deține supremația mondială.
Czech Republic is quite brave in one relationship that European Union still didn't manage to settle. I'm talking about the relationship with Taiwan vis-à-vis China. Your country did bold steps. Why do you think the European Union is not yet behind you?
So for my country, Taiwan is a very important partner. They have created so many jobs, and we have very good cooperation on economic and scientific matters. We have a direct line between Prague and Taipei, so even tourism is flourishing now. So this is very practical and good cooperation. And the EU now was able to define its policy towards China, that is a partner, that it's a competitor. You know, we need to be looking at different areas, and this is the maximum what we can commonly agree. It's a reality of the EU, and definitely in the future I foresee more discussion on China.
And since you are such good partners with Taiwan, of course, one resource your country has is lithium. European Union now is struggling to reindustrialize itself, to produce more internally. It's a lesson we learned in the pandemic, all of us. Will these resources of lithium be the game changer for your economy?
It might be, it might be. I think it's obvious that we need to adapt to climate change. So the combustion engines now belongs to history. We are not talking about the future of them, but how to face them and how fast we will face them. And the future is in electric cars. So in every electric car you need a battery, and the battery, the key component is lithium. So yes, we have huge deposits of lithium. There's a huge deposit on the borders with Germany. So Germany holds 1/3, we hold 2/3. So we want to also develop a common cooperation on that, and it may be not a game changer, but very important part of our future prosperity. I think what is important is to keep that the lithium which will be extracted will also be processed in Czechia, so we don't export raw material, but we will create a battery and create a higher added value. Czech GDP is 10% of Czech GDP is created by automotive industry, 8 to 10%. So if we don't adapt, we will lose this part of our prosperity, and that would be a huge mistake. So my government, our government, is working on that daily.
And since we are filming this interview in Bucharest, I have to also ask you, what are you doing here?
So the main point and the main highlight was to have a bilateral meeting with my counterpart, Luminița Odulescu. It was a very pleasant meeting. We discussed all the important matters of the Czech-Romanian bilateral relationship. We signed the memorandum of understanding on political consultations. So it's important to coordinate our positions, and we also not discuss only Ukraine affairs, but general Central European and South European affairs, as well as even the matters of global outreach. So there's a huge potential for cooperation between Czechia and Romania, and now soon I will move to celebration of 200 years of establishment of Czech villages in Banat, which is a very interesting piece of history. The history goes 200 years back, when thousands of Czech people moved to Banat. There is like 6 villages, and the Czech community happily lives here in Romania. I'm very thankful for the hospitality and the cooperation with the government, which is provided to this minority, and we as a Czech government support this minority also.
Well, let's just hope that we'll get to know each other more in the future. Yeah. Minister, thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you very much.
Atât pentru astăzi, dar rămânem în continuare online pe pagina de Facebook a emisiunii și pe contul nostru de Twitter. Revenim cu subiecte noi din lumea diplomației și a politicii externe vinerea viitoare de la 11:30 și reluare sâmbătă după miezul nopții. La revedere!